Flint is an AI-powered personalized learning platform designed to enhance K-12 education by enabling teachers to create customized learning experiences for their students. It offers tools for teachers to design activities that cater to individual student needs, facilitating personalized learning across various subjects. The Flint platform can be found at flintk12.com. I've already created a free account. I'm going to demo how to create, customize, and work with two different types of activities for students. Here I am logged into Flint as a teacher. I'm going to create an activity. And just for fun, I'm going to create a coding challenge. On this screen, in the activity builder, I'm going to specify the type of coding challenge that I want to create. And I'm going to use prompts to do that. I can follow the instructions right here. It's asking me what programming language I'd like students to use, what grade level or skill level the students are at, and what specific concept or topic I'd like the challenge to focus on. I'm going to do this in Python. I want to create this for grad level students who are beginners. And I'd like the coding challenge to focus on getting user input and doing math. We'll submit that. It's now going to create the Python coding challenge based on the specifications of my prompts. And that's it, it created it. If I expand this, I can see all of the granular details of the exercise, including the language that's going to be used when it's presented to students, including the opening suggestions, the follow-up suggestions, settings for grading, and the grading rubric. And these are all configurable as well. I'm going to stick with what we have. If I close that, I can see here a summary of the Python coding exercise and what the challenge will help students practice. In the session preview on the right, I have a couple of options. The obvious option is to run a simulation of the exercise. So here I can see how the exercise is going to be presented to students and how the student might respond to and interact with the AI teacher. And I can watch this in real time. I can see how a student will write and submit their code. I can even see the individual code file that they're updating over time. I can see how they might get feedback from the AI teacher and then make updates to their code and resubmit based on the teacher's feedback. Here's the simulated student's updated Python file. And you can see as the simulated session progresses, the student is updating and resubmitting their code based on the AI teacher's feedback and recommendations. Ultimately, the student will receive final grade and feedback from the AI teacher. Here are the session analytics. This simulated student received an excellent final grade. Here are recommended areas of improvement and follow-up. Now I'm going to reset the preview and start the session manually and actually go through the coding exercise as if I were a student. So I'm going to actually write the code to do the Python coding challenge. And I'm going to interact with the AI teacher, just like the simulated student did. I'm just going to follow the comments here in the provided Python starter code file. I'm going to get user input for two numbers. Then I'll perform the calculations. I'll add them. Going to subtract them. Going to multiply them. And then I'm going to divide them. And then I'll display the results. I'll just print each variable above. Nothing fancy, just print them as is. Then I'll print the result of the subtraction. Print the result of the multiplication. And print the result of the division. You can also download this Python file or copy the code from it to run it locally. I forgot that I need to cast the user input to something numeric so I can do the math with the values. Let me close this. Now I'm going to submit my first iteration of the coding assignment. And it looks like I got some initial feedback. Looks like I misnamed a variable. Let me change that to num2. What else? Oh, I need to handle division by 0 and invalid input. For invalid input, I can add try except blocks for error handling. So instead of casting these two floats here, I'm going to put it inside of a try except. That's because it could cause an error if my input is invalid, and I want to catch that error. So I'll cast the inputted values to float values here inside of the try. And then if there is an error, a value error, I'll just print something accordingly. Provided input, not numeric, else or otherwise, I'm going to do the math and then print the results. Clean this up, close it. Okay, let me submit this again. Added try except block for casting the user input. There we go. Getting better. What else? Oh, I need to handle possible division by 0. Let me update my code here. First, let me copy these print statements up here. Those calculations are fine. And then here where I'm dividing. If num2 is 0, I'm going to get an error. I'll add the condition. If num2 is not equal to 0, then I can do the math and print the results. Otherwise, I'll just print something accordingly. Can't divide by 0. Looking good. Let me just change my documentation here via the comments. Okay. Change this. Close that. Let me submit again. Counted for division by 0. Great. Format the numbers to show only 2 decimal places. Okay. I'm not sure how to do that. How do I show only 2 decimal places? A couple different ways. I can use f strings or the round function. Oh, I see. I think I'll use the round function. So when I'm printing, I'm going to round each of the values to 2 decimal places. I'll nest these function calls here. Let me submit again. Rounded to 2 decimal places. It's looking good. I could continue to improve this, but I'm going to submit it. Let's see how I did. Submit session. I did good. My strengths, areas of improvement, and follow-up. I think this coding challenge is ready to go. I'm going to create the activity and share it with a user, an actual student. Let me copy the link. I'll provide that to the student. They can open that in a browser. They're going to have to log into Flint with their own account so I can identify them. And then they see the activity. And they can complete the activity the same way I did when I was testing. So I'll pretend I'm a student. I'll write my code. I'll go through this rather quickly from the student perspective, get the user input and cast to a float directly, do the calculations, print the results. We'll keep it simple for now. Print all of these values. Basically just printing these values as is. I could download it or copy it and run it locally. I'll check it one more time. I'm going to go ahead and officially submit it as is. Could take a couple minutes. There it is. Overall, I did fair. You can see my strengths, areas of improvement, possible follow-up. I did fair. So now if I go back to the teacher view, I can see that one student completed the activity. That was me as a student. I could see their entire submission. I could see all the automated feedback and all their interactions. I can see their final code. And as the teacher, I can add my own feedback for the student. Pretty good job. Save that. And if I go back to the student's view, they can now see that they did a pretty good job. Back in the teacher's view, I'm going to create another activity. This time I'm going to create a writing activity. Here I'm back in the activity builder. I'm going to create a writing assignment. I'm going to specify the grade level. This is for 20-year-olds. And for the type of writing, I'd like to evaluate poetry skills. It's going to create the writing assignment along with the activity evaluation. There it is. If I expand this, I can see all the details. And then in the session preview on the right, I'm going to manually start the activity. This is a poetry composition and analysis activity. In this activity, students are required to write a poem. It could be free verse, sonnet, haiku, or any other form. I'm going to test this out. The way to complete this activity is to open the provided document and populate it with the required information. For example, I need to provide a title for my poem. I'm going to write a haiku. So my title is going to be Funny Haiku for You. Then I'm going to write the actual poem here. Bug lurks in my code. I fix 1 and 3 appear. Time to change careers. That's my haiku. This writing activity wants me to add some reflection points, so I'm going to answer these questions here. What inspired my poem? Writing code. What poetic devices did I use? Not sure. What emotions or ideas did I aim to convey? Frustration from writing code. I'm going to close this. I'm going to submit my first iteration of the assignment. I really just want to make sure the AI teacher can read my poem in the document. And it does a quick assessment, so it looks like it can. I'm going to go ahead and submit this as my final version. I'll click Submit Session, and here are the session analytics, my overall grade, along with all the automated feedback. I'm happy with this activity. I can go ahead and create it and then share it with students.